Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. The first episode of season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, just aired last night. And I wanted to make a video because I believe The Ultimate Fighter season 31 is an absolute disaster already. And that's coming from a person who has not watched the first episode, who has no plans to watch the entire season whatsoever. And I believe there's a lot of problems already with this season that aren't necessarily unique to this season in particular. This has been going on for years, but there's also quite a few problems that I believe are exclusive to season 31, McGregor versus Chandler. And one massive problem that the MMA media isn't talking about, they refuse to ask Dana White about, and instead they just write articles. Oh my God, can you believe we got this 3-second clip of Conor McGregor shoving Michael Chandler on the Ultimate Fighter set? Oh my God, we got to write 10 articles about this. We can't wait. Instead of actually doing their jobs and asking Dana White serious questions about what's going on with this fight in particular. And I wanted to make a video because I just believe that the Ultimate Fighter, there's been so much hype behind this season. And there's been so much hype that, oh my God, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler as Ultimate Fighter coaches, it's going to bring the season back from the dead. They're going to bring the Ultimate Fighter back from the dead. And I just believe that's completely ridiculous. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think the Ultimate Fighter, honestly, might be in a little bit better spot for this season. But afterwards, it's not going to gain any traction after this. And Dana White and the UFC are hoping that it does. But I don't believe any of these viewers who are sticking around for Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler as coaches are going to return for the next season, especially when I lay out some of the problems that are going to go on with this season. Now, before you comment down below and say, oh, how are you going to say this if you haven't even watched it? The Ultimate Fighter for many years has been rinse and repeat. And I know there's going to be some people that say, oh, you definitely watched season 1 or episode 1 of season 31 because of some of the things I'm going to say in this. I have not watched it. I did a live stream while it was airing, and I talked about a lot of these problems in that live stream as the show was first airing. You can check it out. It's still on my channel. There's a title in there that says The Ultimate Fighter Sucks. You can go check it out. I talked about it while the actual show was airing. So a little bit of background real quick. The show was announced February 4th of 2023. The coaches McGregor and Chandler, and it is set to air from May 30th, which was yesterday, to August 15th. And usually the purpose of The Ultimate Fighter is to build up prospects on the show and then also build up a fight between the coaches. And then the fight is going to happen after the show. Everyone got excited. We saw them yell at each other and push and shove on the show. Now we get to see them fight. That is the purpose of the show. It's supposed to build fighters. It's supposed to promote fighters by being on the show with a lot of fight fans tuning in. They learn about the different personalities of these fighters, and then they get to watch them fight after the fact. And you look at the reaction after this episode aired from the MMA media. You have MMA Fighting, which has one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel, doing live stream post reactions to The Ultimate Fighter. That is craziness to me. And the MMA media as a whole are propping up this season of The Ultimate Fighter because they want to use Conor McGregor's name in headlines, because they want to generate traffic to their websites, to their YouTube channels. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're doing the same thing here. Okay, maybe I am. Maybe I am. That's what I'm doing here. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just giving my honest take of what I see going on around the MMA community, and I will continue to do so. There's going to be a lot of people who hate on me because of this video. Oh, I love The Ultimate Fighter. I've been watching every season forever, and The Ultimate Fighter is what made the UFC, which may very well be true. But you have the MMA media essentially gushing over the fact, and this is really disturbing to me. They're gushing over every clip, every little screenshot they get. Oh my God, can you believe Conor McGregor? He gave Michael Chandler a little shove. Can you believe Conor McGregor said, oh, you'll do what you're told to Michael Chandler? And the MMA media is acting as if this season is so much bigger than it actually is, intentionally misrepresenting the season because they want to use Conor McGregor's name in headlines. That's essentially what they want to do. And that's what they will continue to do by doing live post recaps like it's The Talking Dead, back when The Walking Dead used to be one of the biggest shows. They just want to use Conor McGregor's name. And what I hate about this season in particular is something that I've hated about every single Ultimate Fighter season for the past 8 years. I haven't watched The Ultimate Fighter probably since maybe 2013 or so. So really that's 10 years. Maybe I watched it in 2014. I don't remember the exact season I stopped watching it. But The Ultimate Fighter is the same thing over and over and over again. Rinse and repeat. And it's only getting worse. All we see is a bunch of filler content. That's all we're seeing. We see guys talk about their personal lives, and we see guys say they miss their families. And I remember one year, we had a fighter's, I think it was his father, pass away while he was on the show. That was actually craziness. But for the most part, it's just, they miss their wife, they miss their kids, they miss their dog, whatever it may be. And then we learn about their life problems, and then we get to watch them fight and potentially lose, potentially win, which is actually kind of depressing because sometimes you learn about these guys' stories and you're like, damn, I kind of want that guy to win. Like Mike Grundy, he wasn't on The Ultimate Fighter, but his story going to that fight against Makwan Amirkhani, I will never forgive Makwan Amirkhani for what he did to Mike Grundy. Thank God Jack Shore got justice for Mike Grundy. But that's a topic for a whole nother video, which I've already talked about. But essentially, you just see these guys bring up their personal lives, cry a little bit, talk about how they miss their wife, they miss their family, maybe they got an alcoholic father, maybe, their parents died when they were young, and we just hear them talk about that, and then we see them fight. And some people may love that, and I'm not hating on you if you enjoyed The Ultimate Fighter. Some people may love that. That has been the same basic template for The Ultimate Fighter for many years. Attempt to get you emotionally attached to the fighter by telling their backstory, then you watch them fight, and hopefully they win, maybe they lose, and you have basically an emotional attachment to this fighter now because you know their backstory. But the thing is, because of the way they try to structure it and they edit it, it just seems disingenuous. And it seems like they're continually trying to poke and prod and get these fighters to say certain things so that they can have these emotional sound clips to play for The Ultimate Fighter. And it's been the same thing for 10 years, over and over and over again. Okay, his mom worked 3 jobs as he was growing up. He was bullied as a kid. His dad was an alcoholic. His dad was a drug addict. His dad was killed when he was young. Something along those lines. It's the same thing over, rinse and repeat. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch The Ultimate Fighter anymore, because for me, I'm not interested in like soap opera. I'm not interested in theater. I'm interested in fights. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's a great story to tell. And I like when those stories are told. But for the most part, these stories seem forced. They seem highly edited. And they seem basically like this fighter was poked and prodded to push this story out there in a way that just doesn't feel right. And they're just using to exploit them, like Dr. Phil style, exploit their problems for clicks and views. And for me, it just doesn't interest me. Then you have the fact over the past 5 to 10 years, the barrier of entry into the UFC has vastly declined. And therefore, the pool that you have for The Ultimate Fighter has vastly increased because UFC's like, we got Paddy Pimblett on the roster. Yeah, we can have a bunch of bums on The Ultimate Fighter. And I'm not saying the guys who are on The Ultimate Fighter currently are bums. There's actually some good fighters on there. Timur Valiev is on there, who's a very good fighter. There's some good vets from the UFC who's been in the UFC before who are good fighters on The Ultimate Fighter. But what I'm saying is you have essentially a competitive talent pool that is vastly decreased. And for me, one of the things that drew me into The Ultimate Fighter when I used to watch it was you had good fighters on the show. You're like, okay, who's going to win this? Now you see people who fight like Juliana Miller, who's in the UFC. That's essentially what you see. You see horrible skill sets, and you're like, is this really the pros at this point? Are we watching the pros, or is this amateur hour? And for me, I don't enjoy that. If you guys watch my channel with any regularity, you know I enjoy high-level fights. And, I don't care when we have, 20 low-level fighters fighting for a UFC contract. Am I rooting for all of them? Yes. I want everyone to succeed. I'm not rooting against anyone in life, okay? I want everyone to make money. I want everyone to be successful. But I have no interest personally in watching low-level MMA fights. And the other reason to really watch the show is, let's watch the coaches. Let's watch the coaches of The Ultimate Fighter. And this year is the first year in a long time they've had interesting coaches. They got Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. And I know a lot of people are going to tune in. They're going to say, I'm so excited to see what is Conor McGregor going to do? Is he going to be crazy? What's he going to say? What's he going to do? But in all reality, for me personally, and then I'm going to talk about a problem that I have with it that I think is going to affect people who enjoy watching it regardless. For me, I have no interest. I'm not into the WWE antics. I'm not into, oh, this grown man shoved this grown man, and there was 12 grown men who were watching, and then they split them up, and oh, this guy hit this guy over the head with a steel chair, or he put him through a table, or oh my God, they yelled at each other backstage, or somebody punched a door, or somebody punched a hole in the wall, or somebody stole Conor McGregor's cocaine. That just doesn't interest me at all, okay? I'm not highly compelled by drama. If I was, I'd watch soap operas. Granted, there are some great stories to be told sometimes, and the UFC uses those stories to sell pay-per-views. But putting Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler in the same vicinity for a couple hours a day, and they're pushing each other and yelling at each other, the WWE fans may eat that up. But for me, it doesn't really get me excited at all. And even if that does get you excited, and again, the whole season hasn't aired yet, there's only been one episode, I believe, and I've talked about this for a long time, I believe Conor McGregor will barely exist on the show. I believe he probably shows up for the bare minimum for recording. He shows up, he probably gets 15 minutes of camera time, he probably leaves because he's got his cocaine stash back at the hotel, he wants to go get drunk, and I believe he's barely going to show up. He's going to try to get some viral moments, and then he's going to leave. I don't believe he actually cares about his team. I don't believe he cares to be there training his guys. I don't believe he cares to be there helping his guys. I don't believe he cares to watch his guys fight who are on his team. I don't think he cares at all. I think he's barely going to show up. I think Michael Chandler will be there quite a bit. But I think if you're interested in seeing Conor McGregor on The Ultimate Fighter, I just have a sneaking suspicion he's barely going to exist. And even if he is, and even if that really excites you, I think everything that you could possibly imagine is going to be clipped out on Twitter. It's going to be clipped out on Instagram. It's going to be clipped out anywhere you can possibly imagine, any social media. The relevant clips, which are probably going to be 10, 15 seconds long, are all going to be posted to social media. Even the result of the fight from last night's episode was posted online. It was like 10 seconds long. It was a brutal KO by Roosevelt Roberts. So even if you're just solely interested in the fights, even though they're not particularly high level, you can see it all after the fact. It's not going to be super relevant because everything is going to be posted after the fact. And I know you can say that about anything, but the point is, of these hour-long episodes, which really probably aren't even an hour because apparently ESPN's doing a bunch of commercials. Oh my God, I can't imagine how many Burger King commercials you had to watch last night for the season premiere. But even if you have a 40-minute episode, and let's say you have 20 minutes of commercials, or a 45-minute episode, 15 minutes of commercials, you probably have a total of 3 minutes of clips that you actually want to watch that are actually compelling. So even then, it's just not all that interesting. And I just feel like The Ultimate Fighter plateaued many years ago, and essentially now they're just slapping the same template on everything. Look what they're doing with Slap. Look what they're doing with Slap. They're slapped the same template on for Slap. They were going to do a pay-per-view for Slap, but that failed, and now they're exclusively on Rumble. And if you look at the history of TUF over the past couple years, it hasn't even been on ESPN, the cable provider. It's only been exclusively on ESPN Plus up until this season, which has Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, so they're putting it on regular ESPN. You know why that is? It's because the ratings would absolutely be disgusting. They would be disturbing. They would be in the toilet. They would be horrible. But they have Conor McGregor this season, so they're hoping for better ratings. I'm curious how the ratings play out. But that's why previous seasons have been exclusively on ESPN Plus. That's why Power Slap is exclusively on Rumble, because they're not getting the ratings. That's what's going on here. And, you know, this season is going to bring it back. They're going to be on ESPN. You think next season is going to be on regular ESPN? I doubt it. I think viewership will probably fall off for this season over, you know, the next couple episodes. I think it'll steeply decline after the season premiere. But this is just a show that has not innovated for very many years. It's been the same thing, rinse and repeat for years. And one of the biggest problems I have with this season, the one saving grace for The Ultimate Fighter, the one reason I used to watch it back when I was like 15, 16, 17 years old, is because I enjoyed seeing the coaching interaction, and then I enjoyed that immediately after the season ended, you got to see them fight. It may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, it may even be a month, but you would immediately get to see the coaches fight as soon as the season ended, within a month span afterwards. Well, for this season, you have Conor McGregor, who is still not in the USADA testing pool, which for those of you who don't know, you have to be in the USADA testing pool, the randomized drug testing pool, for 6 months before you can fight. Conor McGregor is still not showing up in the USADA testing database as having any test. And they came out after the fact, after this first season aired, and they said he has rejoined USADA. There's still no test. But even if, let's say he did rejoin USADA, oh wait, he can't fight for 6 months. So that means he's not eligible to fight until December at the earliest. At the earliest, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler will happen in December, the December pay-per-view. That is craziness. The show will end August 15th, and you're talking about a mid-December pay-per-view fight card. Well, now the whole season's irrelevant at that point because the show was recorded, was recorded back when? Early March, early April, somewhere around then. So now we're talking about damn near a whole year. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. You're talking about 8 months roughly before they actually fight. And you're talking about 4 months from the time the season ends to the time you actually get the fight. I just think that loses all the momentum a season may actually bring. And again, I already believe that Conor McGregor's barely going to be there. I believe any of the viral moments that are going to happen, you can catch on ESPN, you can catch on Twitter, you can catch on YouTube, and it's probably going to be about 2 minutes of viral moments per episode. And it's just any hype that you could potentially build if you are a fan of this structure is going to die because you're going to sit around for 4 months. What are you going to wait till December? Oh, I'm going to rewatch season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter. Very doubtful. And I just think this season, because of that main problem, I think it's an absolute disaster because if you're not going to have the fight relatively soon after the season ends, it's pointless. And I know this has happened before. I think Nunes versus Pena got pushed back because you had Nunes pull out. She was sick or whatever. I think this was back when they were supposed to fight the first time. I think they were supposed to fight UFC 265. They didn't fight till UFC 269. Of course, stuff like that can happen. But this is just solely because Conor McGregor wanted to take PEDs to heal his leg, to not heal his leg, whatever it may be, and he did not want to join the randomized testing pool. So therefore, the date of the fight had to get pushed back. It will not happen till December at best. And don't be surprised. It would not shock me if Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler does not happen at all. And if it does, it's probably going to be December. January would be my best guess. But don't be surprised if it doesn't happen at all. I've been saying that from the very first day that this was announced. I said, I'm still skeptical that this even happens. So don't be surprised if you get absolutely blue-balled by The Ultimate Fighter. But let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think about this season of The Ultimate Fighter? What did you think about episode 1? What did you think about my thoughts on The Ultimate Fighter? I'm genuinely curious. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know on Twitter. Let me know on Instagram, wherever you want to let me know. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.